Welcome to Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson. Thanks for joining us today. Our topic is what to do when you receive a cancer diagnosis. My guest is Bill C. Potts, a 5-time cancer survivor and author of Up for the Fight, How to Advocate for Yourself as You Battle Cancer from a 5-time Survivor. This guide is endorsed by MD Anderson Cancer Center, the Mayo Clinic, and is used by Leukemia and Lymphoma Society and Multiple Myeloma Research Foundation patients. Bill, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for being with us today to share your story.
Lori, it's a treat to be on your show.
So this book is to cancer. What to expect when you're expecting is to pregnancy, sort of a how-to guide, very helpful. Why did you decide to write the book?
Yeah, the story is an interesting one. I woke up on September 17th, 2020. In the recovery room at Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida. I just had a painful tumor removed from below my right hip. And this is during the pandemic, so I was in the recovery room by myself with the nurse Jen. And when I woke up from the surgery, I was having an emotional breakdown. And we're not talking about a few tears coming down my face. We're talking full-fledged emotional breakdown. And the nurse grabs my hand and says, "Hey, Bill, what's wrong?" And what I told her surprised even me. I said, "Jen, I don't think I'm up for the fight anymore." I said, "I've just woken up from having been diagnosed with lymphoma for the 4th time. This is on top of the thyroid cancer I had in 2002. And just a month ago, I was diagnosed with prostate cancer. So I think I'm done. Ready to throw in the towel." And so she smartly called the pastor, Tanya, who came in, and she said, "Hey, Bill, let's talk through it." So we did. I told her the story of my life, about my awesome family, my jobs with purpose, the fulfilling life I've had, all the things that I've done, my accomplishments, and that since I knew what was coming, I'd had a great life and maybe it's time to move on. So what she did next was amazing, and what God did next in my life was remarkable. I call it a miracle. Over the course of an hour, we talked through all the reasons why I should fight and why I should not give up the fight. And we concluded that I should fight for my family, I should fight for my friends, I should fight for my meaningful work, and I should fight to make God proud. So over the course of that time, my heart really changed from not being up for the fight to being fiercely committed to fighting once I reconnected with all the reasons why I needed to fight. And then she leans in, and Lori, I'm talking leans in. She leans in and says, "Hey, Bill, one last thing. Now I want you to turn your pain into purpose and help others and write a book." Okay. I thought about it and told her I would. Now, I had a lot of reasons not to write the book. I was just coming off of fentanyl and morphine when I told her I would do it. But at the Potts house, a deal's a deal. And so I reached out to a publisher. That publisher, Page 2, the CEO, called me and said, "Bill, we want to do this book with you. We think there's a need for a book like What to Expect When You're Expecting, but for cancer patients that can really help others." And so then, Lori, I wrote it, but I wrote it while going through chemotherapy. And because I wasn't sure I was going to survive that cancer, wrote it with a sense of urgency, and it gave me a real sense of purpose while I was going through things. I had a great editor that was on call when I was feeling able to write. Got the book completed 7 months before it was released. So thanks to Pastor Tanya and to God changing my heart, this book is out. And Lori, to say it's having a positive impact on my life and for those who read it, it's an understatement. And some of the things I'm hearing about this book, the impact, it provides people hope, because if I can beat cancer 5 times, then they can fight it as well. It's also changing lives because it's helping them go through their journey And I've heard from people that have read the book, cancer patients, that because they got a second opinion or they kept safe from getting sick through some advice in the book, that it's actually saved their lives. And when you look at life, what better purpose can there be than helping others in the journey, not just writing it, but the journey post writing it has been remarkable. I talk to cancer patients and advise cancer patients every day. Wouldn't have happened without this journey.
Oh, wow, that is really a remarkable story. It sounds like the book is ordained by God, that it is something that He clearly wanted you to do, and is now really blessing people as a result of it. And so many of the things that you just said, there are so many takeaways. One of my first takeaways is just the role of a hospital chaplain. This Pastor Tanya, was she the hospital chaplain?
Yeah, she was. And interestingly, Lori, she was in the room with me before the surgery. A lot of people were in the room with me, the surgical team, and she was there, but I hadn't even noticed her. So when she came back into the room after being called by the nurse while I was having the breakdown, she already knew me. She knew what I was in for. So yeah, she was there for that very reason. And interestingly, as we talked, I talked with her about her reasons why she was a pastor, and we connected on a pretty personal level as for both of our purposes through the cancer journey. So yeah, it was a book that God told me to do, and if God tells you to do something, well, you better do it. And I was lucky enough, or fortunate enough, to find a publisher that believed in the mission and supported me through the journey, because it really is a team effort to write a book. Remember, I was writing it in pretty banged up shape too. So the support they gave was fantastic.
Well, you talk about this issue of hope, which you really struggled with. You thought, well, hey, I'm saved. I'm going to heaven anyway. Why should I even bother to fight? I've actually known a lot of cancer patients who have felt that way. But this idea of fighting for the people who are still here on earth, who depend on you, like your family, and you have your work to do and things like that. Can you talk about how to sort of motivate people to want to have hope, to want to fight? What is your advice in the book about that?
Yeah, my advice is everybody has their own journey and has their own reasons to fight, but remind yourself every day about the reasons why you should fight. And so whether it's to fight for your family, fight for your friends, to inspire others in their journey, which has been a big blessing to me, is to be able to do that. But what Pastor Tanya told me at the end, and she says, Bill, you want to fight to make God proud. You want to give it your best effort. And just that fight alone has inspired so many people to fight as well, that you never know who you're going to touch through your fight. But if you remember every day, and that's every day, why, then it becomes easier to fight the battle. Everybody makes their decision, when and how and if they're going to fight, as long as they're owning their own journey. I respect those decisions, but I would say my example of fighting and what it's brought not just to me and to my family, but to others is amazing. And each day is precious, and each day is a blessing. And I will continue to fight, Lori, every single day.
We're going to take a break and be right back with Bill C. Potts. The book is called Up for the Fight: How to Advocate for Yourself as You Battle Cancer, from a 5-time survivor. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're talking with Bill C. Potts, author of the book Up for the Fight: How to Advocate for Yourself as You Battle Cancer, from a 5-time survivor. And Bill, you talk about advocating for yourself. It is very complicated, especially, for example, if you're in a big city. I know you said you were at the Mayo Clinic. When you get a diagnosis, there are so many different doctors, so many different, it's overwhelming. How do patients advocate for themselves?
It's a great question. And the number one piece of advice I give for anybody going through a health issue is, yes, own your journey, which means a lot of things. That it's not the doctor's to own, it's yours to own. So that means you have to get second opinions. That means you have to understand your particular health issue. That means you need to reach out to nonprofits that focus on your area to get good information related to your particular issue. It means getting second opinions. It means being very organized because it is really complicated. So most places will have the portals. It means finding the treatment center or the doctor that is right for you. So my initial lymphoma, which was stage 3 in 2008, I was living here in the Tampa area, and I traveled to MD Anderson in Houston for that treatment. And I went there because there are 61 different types of lymphoma. Unfortunately, my version's not curable, so it'll keep coming back. But MD Anderson sees 179,000 patients per year, and they see more patients with my particular type of lymphoma than any place in the world. So for me, it was worth traveling 1.23 times in 24 months to Houston for that treatment. So owning the journey is all encompassing. It's not just related to the physical piece of the healing, it's related to the business of cancer, the business of your health issue. It's related to the legal piece of it. It's related to the recovery and the diet and nutrition, exercise. All those are weaved in to owning your journey. A lot of folks think that they don't own it, that the medical care team owns it, but that's not true. You have to own it.
But what you just said sounds very complicated and hard. And a lot of people, when they receive a cancer diagnosis, they're not feeling well. They're weak. They may be elderly. How do you establish a supportive care team? How do you find people to help you?
That's another great question. You do need support. So you really need somebody to go with you to appointments, to take you to and from appointments, to sit with you during treatments, to sit with you at home. And so, I've been lucky that I've got a very amazing wife who has been the primary person that's been keeping an eye on me. I've also used family members. I've used friends, and I've found that, there are outside resources as well that you can hire to sit with you and be with you, which are all important. But this is the time where you lean into your friend group and you ask. And if you ask specifically, instead of, hey, can you help me out? If you said, hey, can you sit with me during my treatment next Tuesday? The likelihood of a positive answer is going to be yes. And so if you're specific in asking your family and friends for help, I found with 100% certainty people do want to help you, and they will. Not everybody, because certain people will lean out when you have the cancer diagnosis, either because they're afraid of it or because they have some emotional reaction to it. But most folks will lean in if you ask.
How do you keep a positive mental attitude? You say that's important.
Yeah, I'm naturally wired very positive. I've been this way my whole life, so I'm pretty lucky. But I keep the positive attitude by reminding myself every day how grateful I am to be alive and how important every day is. I remind myself of my whys every day. I take a pill every morning to replace my missing thyroid. So every morning I'm reminded of my cancer journey. I lean into my faith heavily. Prayer every morning before my day gets going helps ground me and keeps my attitude positive. I said, Lori, I see life in a different way. Now that I've been going through this cancer journey for over 20 years, the colors are brighter. It's like the colorblind person that puts on those glasses that helps them see color for the first time. That's literally how I see life. So it's easy to be positive when you see life in such a joyous way. It's like almost dying taught me really better on how to live.
Wow, that's very profound. All right, we're going to take another quick break and be right back with Bill C. Potts. The book is called Up for the Fight. Stay with us. Welcome back to Healthy Living. We're continuing our discussion with Bill C. Potts, author of the book Up for the Fight. And right before the break, you were talking about how you maintain a positive attitude. And actually, you say in the book that this actually helps with your recovery, right? To have a positive attitude.
Yeah, it does. And look, I have my days where my attitude slips, especially going through treatment, and some of those days are unpredictable. But in general, my attitude is really good. And the way that it can help you recover is, first of all, people are going to want to be around you more if you have a positive attitude. So I don't know the science behind it, but I know the facts that a positive attitude makes people want to be around you. That includes your medical care team. It includes your friends and your family. So on that side, there's a real benefit to having a good attitude. A good attitude also makes it easier to go through the journey. I mean, walking in the door of Mayo Clinic or MD Anderson to go get chemotherapy is challenging, but the good attitude always helps. And I think people are inspired by a good attitude that are also going through the journey. So by having a good attitude, you're also helping others go through it. But that's not to say that you shouldn't give yourself grace if you have a day where your attitude is pretty bad, because I've had plenty of those. But you bounce back the next day or a couple of days later with the positive attitude, and it makes such a positive difference on your own life.
And you talk about these days where you go for your treatment, your infusions or what have you, and those can be particularly tough days. You did mention it's nice to have someone come with you. What are some other tips for the days where you're actually getting treatment, to make those days a little bit easier?
Yeah, it's pretty challenging. A couple days before you're going to go in for a treatment, I usually get kind of sullen. I get kind of quiet, and my family's kind of used to that. And so the way I handle it to be able to get through it is that once I get to the door, I treat it like my job to get better, like it's a business, and my mindset immediately changes, and then it's game on. The emotions are kind of left at the door, and I can go in and handle it like my job is to get better. Now, when you're going through the treatments themselves, obviously having somebody with you is important. Being comfortable with your clothes, having something to listen to on the music, having making sure you have a blanket. You don't want to eat too much before you go in for treatment, but you want to make sure you have some food with you, staying hydrated. But once you're in the chair and you're in the bed for the treatment, the nursing staff will keep a pretty good eye on you. But that buddy that you have with you will keep even a better eye on you. And that really helps the day to go well, because now you have somebody not just to keep an eye on you, but somebody to talk to and just be with you.
So aside from the treatment day, overall, what are some tips as far as like lifestyle, diet, and exercise, things like that?
Yes, that's a great question, and it's super important to be able to live a healthy, active lifestyle. This is not just about cancer prevention, but it's about cancer recovery as well. So when you're going through treatment or even past treatment, diet of fruits, vegetables, lean protein, lack of fried food, limiting alcohol consumption, pulling back a little bit on caffeine. You talked in a show a couple weeks ago about trying to limit, sugar intake, and that's to try to keep your weight healthy, because obesity does really impact a number of cancers. I find meditation, prayer, grounding, deep breathing, spending time in nature, all important in my life in general, which I was doing even before my treatments. Now, some of it gets pulled back when you're not feeling well, but on a day-to-day basis, I'm making sure I'm moving and that my diet is healthy.
Great information. We're going to take one final break and be right back with Bill C. Potts. The book is called Up for the Fight. Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're continuing our discussion with Bill C. Potts. Up for the Fight is the book. And you talk in the book about how important it is to recalibrate priorities. Can you talk about that?
Yes. My priorities have changed completely because of my cancer journey. Now I want to spend time doing things that are important to me. And right now, that's obviously sharing the message of my journey to try to help others in their journey. It's spending more time with family. It's interesting, when you've almost died, how it recalibrates how you want to spend your time. I think it's the things I say no to that are some of the better decisions I make. Saying no to a committee or a volunteer opportunity or a job that doesn't really fit my whys, but saying yes to the things that will make a difference and will provide purpose for me. I do think I've learned so much about living through my journey. I try to live now so much more in the present. I can hear the birds like I never heard them before. I can hear the joy of kids playing down the street. I see the butterflies. I notice the clouds up in the sky. So I'm trying to live in the present, which means less time on social media, less time on the phone. And like now, when I'm with somebody, it's 100% of my attention. And that has made such a big difference in my life. But one of the biggest things that has changed for me is that if I love somebody, I tell them. And that can be challenging many times with friends, particularly guy friends. But now, if I love somebody, I tell them. I didn't want to be that person that missed that opportunity. And they tell me back, Lori, and it's magical.
That is fantastic. What's your big takeaway? What do you hope folks will take away from this book?
Yeah, whether you're the patient, the key takeaway is to own your journey every step of the way. If you're a family or friend of a cancer patient, read it as well, because it gives you some good guidance on how to handle a cancer patient. And then the big takeaway is always have hope. And as you own your journey, be confident that you're owning it well, and go to bed each night and pat yourself on the back for the job that you did, and then wake up the next day and give it your best effort.
What a great way to wrap things up. I'm sorry we're out of time, but Bill, thank you so much for being with us and for writing this book. I'm sure it is going to continue to bless very many people.
Well, thank you so much, Lori.
And thanks to you for joining us for this edition of Healthy Living. I'm Lori Johnson, and we'll see you again next week.